Alright, I'm Chad Boehner, and this is my speech. It's about college athletes, why they should be paid. Those who believe that a college scholarship is paid enough for student athletes hold positions like athletic directors and coaches, as Joe Nocier from the New York Times Magazine has found out. Nocier touches on how some people may argue that universities can afford for student athletes. But as he says, quote, universities cannot afford to pay the players. Andrew Zabalis, a Smith College sports economist, who likes to point out that fewer than 24 of the 350 Division I athletic departments make money. Offended by the multi-million-dollar salaries of college coaches, Zabalis has proposed that the NCAA receive a limited antitrust exemption from Congress, the purpose of which would be to cap compensation of coaches and athletic directors. Zabalis has also called for players to receive more benefits like health insurance and to reap outside income from their image and likeness, end quote. Nocier's salary cap idea, which would not break the bank as some fear, but it does not completely abandon free market principles either, mainly as a practical approach. Here's how it would work. Begin quote. Every Division I men's basketball and football team would have a salary cap just as the pros do, except the amounts would be vastly lower. In basketball, the cap would be $650,000, and football would be $3 million. It is ludicrous to argue that the Power 5 programs could not afford this. The combined $3.65 million is barely half the $7 million that Michigan coach Jim Harbaugh made this season, end quote. Nocier also says he would also drop the number of scholarships in college football of 60 to making it closer to the size of an NFL team instead of the 85 in the top tier. Second, he would impose a minimum salary, $25,000 per player in each sport. This would obviously not make the athletes rich, but would give them enough to live like a typical college student. Now to the free market aspect. The minimum salaries consume only half of the salary cap. The rest of the money would be used as a recruiting tool so that a star player could be offered additional money as an inducement to go to a particular university. One university might want to offer a star running back $40,000, while another might offer him $60,000. The player would then make a choice based not only on recruiter sweet talking or promises, but on cold hard cash. I can see you recoiling at this notion, but let me ask, is offering cash compensation really that much worse than the current system, in which universities build lavish facilities and spend absurd amounts on their programs to lure good players? Doesn't it make more sense to give some of the money to the players? It would also have other benefits. Universities could hit up boosters to put money into a fraud or a fund to pay the players' salaries. That would diminish their incentive to sneak money and benefits to athletes under the table. And the contracts between players and universities, yes, contracts, just as in any other important economic transaction, could go well beyond compensation. They could require a player to spend, say, 3 years in a college, reducing reliance on one and dones. The players and their parents might insist on certain academic benefits or the right to persuade or pursue a particular major. The SEER system would also make it necessary for agents to advise athletes, which is a good thing. And to those who say that paying some players more than others would create dissension on a college team, I'd reply that huge salary disparities are a fact of life in the pros, and they seem to manage somehow. What's more, a huge percentage of athletes, including bench warmers, are convinced that they are bound for professional glory. Many athletes do not bother with their studies because they think they will get rich once they enter the pros. By the time they realize that's not going to happen, it's too late. With Nocier's plan, it would make it possible for them to return to college, get the education that would allow them to find another path to successful life. Now I'll persuade why college athletes should be paid for the amount of money or amount of time they are required to commit to their sport and classwork. I chose this specific goal statement because with little time to balance schoolwork and time for their sports, these athletes who bring in revenue to their colleges have no time for a job that would offer income. Some of us that aren't college athletes would show how difficult it is to balance schoolwork by itself, much less putting a sport on top of that. Jumping right into it, let's talk about how these athletes make payments on their personal possessions, or more